Hello. Oh, also one of this. Give everybody a few minutes. A couple minutes at least.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. Give everyone just a minute still. For those that are on, I am going to be recording this, so just FYI. I have the power to mute and everything like that, so if anything comes up, I'm happy to mute or turn off video or anything like that. Okay. All right, well, we can go ahead and get started. Thank you guys, everybody, for coming to our volunteer town hall this evening to learn about human animal support services and what it is and what it means for our organization. My name is Tori Bugate, and I'm the Chief Communications Officer of KC Pet Project. And you're going to be hearing from several members of our team tonight. I'll get into that in one moment. If you have any questions at all, feel free to type them in the chat as we go along. There will be time at the end of our short presentation for questions as well, after you are able to kind of see everything that we've been up to lately and what all we're going to be doing in the future with this program. So I go ahead. And okay, here we are. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get this chat up here just so I can see it. Okay, all right, so Human Animal Support Services, otherwise known lovingly as Haas, like the avocado, is something that has come really out of what we have learned during the pandemic, which has been a lot for those that have been, following along with everything that we've done. Obviously, with volunteers, it's been really different in the fact that we were, unable to really have a lot of people in the building. We built this beautiful brand new shelter and wanted everybody to come in and see it, and then all of a sudden we had to close our doors and say, no, never mind, nobody come. So it's been a very, very interesting few months for us, and we've kind of flipped everything the way that we do at the shelter on its head and had to, do virtual adoptions, really put a huge emphasis on fostering. And along the way, we really learned a lot of lessons about the way that we have been doing animal sheltering for a long time. And, this model of animal sheltering has always been sort of the same since the turn of the century. And we're now looking at reimagining the way that we can do animal sheltering in our own community, as well as communities across the country. So tonight, you're going to hear from me, Teresa Johnson, our CEO and president of KC Pet Project, Amanda Gatton, who is new to our team. She's been with us for about, 2 weeks now? So as our director of community services, which is incredibly exciting. And this is going to be sort of very much her realm. Alex Hewley, manager of life-saving programs, and Alicia Willett will also be on here, who of course is your volunteer program manager. And she's here for support and answering questions and everything too. So something that we have discovered through COVID-19 is that our community has supported us in ways that we never imagined. When we put out a plea for fosters, we had 900 people sign up to foster pets for us during the pandemic, We had more people wanting to adopt pets than we have ever seen before, and this is still occurring. Adoption interest is spiking through all around the country. AdoptAPet.com reported, I believe, 20 million views on their website in the last week or so. So it's definitely been an interesting time. And what we've figured out is that the community can really help us be a shelter outside of what our shelter means for us. And a lot of our new programming and things that we're going to be doing in our community is really emphasizing that and how people can get involved and help us. Teresa, jump in at any time you want to add something. So, okay, what is Haas? Human Animal Support Services is a coalition of animal service leaders, 14 Tier 1 pilot shelters, and more than 20 Tier 2 pilot organizations transforming the traditional sheltering system to serve the entire community and supporting the human-animal bond. We have hundreds of people who are working frantically trying to build the infrastructure that is Human Animal Support Services. We have dozens of working groups that are working on everything from marketing to data and putting all together the data of what this program is going to be measuring, to research, to diversity, equity, and inclusion, community cats, intake to placement. I mean, there's so many working groups, and it's comprised of not only people that are involved in the shelters that are part of Tier 1 and Tier 2, but also people in the human social services world. We're looking at people who are highly involved in fostering humans and children, especially, and young children and teenagers and everybody. So we're looking at a lot of people outside of animal welfare to also bring their skills and their knowledge into this new model of what Haas could look like in our community.
We really believe that this is going to be truly the model of the future. There are the smartest minds in the country involved in this program to transform how we believe shelters should operate in the future. And in fact, not only are there leaders from shelters across the country, but the national organizations, in fact, all of the national organizations are involved with this, because everyone believes that this is the future and this is the way that we all should go. And so we're really excited that we are one of the Tier 1 pilot shelters that Tori will talk about. But I really believe this is going to be something that we're all going to look back and go, oh my gosh, I remember when we didn't do it this way. Because I think you're going to see some really exciting things happen with this in the future.
Absolutely. So why now? Throughout the pandemic, we of course learned that people were ready to foster. They were ready to support us. They were ready, they're sitting at home and they're like, what can I do? And people that traveled a lot were fostering pets, and because they could finally have a pet in the home and they were staying put, for a little while. Families were coming together to foster animals. We just saw this tremendous community support, and all of these programs that we're putting together are basically taking the things that we learned throughout the pandemic, and everything that we did at our shelter. We were not the only shelter that was doing this in the country. We were in constant communication with every other major municipal shelter, as well as smaller ones all across the country. We're on 2 national calls a week with even Best Friends, ASPCA, Petco Foundation, Maddie's Fund, all the national orgs, all the best veterinary minds in the country telling us, what they think that we should be doing in terms of spay and neuter, how pets and COVID kind of work, how that responds to each other when all these pets were starting to test positive. So we are taking all the national recommendations all the time and applying that to what we're doing here in Kansas City. But the things that we were doing, we were sharing all that information with the other shelters, and they were kind of taking what we had learned and things like that into their organizations. How has this changed our world? We saw fewer animals coming into the shelter, tons more fosters going out, fewer pets available for adoption, with more interest in adoptions than we had pets that were actually in the shelter. We had to stop spay and neuter for a while. We are back to doing it, and we are caught up. So any spay and neuters that we had to halt during that time, we have been able to pick up and resume those and get caught back up again. we saw a lot fewer strays and a lot of people that were helping strays get back home, and Alex is going to talk about that in a bit, and then fewer owner relinquishments. So I don't know if like if it's like my screen and everybody's kind of on the right, or wherever you have people kind of situated in the little boxes. The graph really shows this. Like in June last year, we were drowning in animals. We were taking 1,000 animals in June. I think we actually took 1,100 animals in. So you can see the graph of what we have looked like every month in the prior years and what 2020 looked like, just by trying to talk to our community about how they can help us and how they can keep animals out of the shelter. We put out a report that was a 63% drop in animal services calls, animal related calls to 311 in the month of April over the same month last year. So even animal control, they weren't getting calls about pets coming in. So we're trying to, figure out what all that, all the reasons why in the community we were seeing that, and then how we can support our community in helping pets get back home, how we can stop owner relinquishments, things like that. But that graph is very, very interesting to see the numbers and how they compare to years past. So we're also looking at, because of COVID, what could our community look like in the future? We're, going to be facing loss of employment, potential evictions, fewer affordable housing options, an increase in need for resources, people unable to afford veterinary care, and then potential loss of funding for municipal departments. We aren't talking about this in Kansas City yet, but we have colleagues at other shelters across the country that are experiencing loss of funding already. And so we're just trying to be prepared for whatever comes up, and we want to be ready to provide assistance and resources to help people and pets stay together whenever they're going through these things. And hopefully with the combination of things that are put in place to help people in our community with these issues will also impact the way that it affects animals as well. So here are the Tier 1 pilot shelters. We've added 2 today, so that's very exciting. And we're going to try to figure out between Tier 1 and Tier 2 how many animals we all take in. But just the Tier 1 shelters alone, we have, Los Angeles that takes in, goodness, what is it, 50,000? How many animals? They take in a lot of animals every year. Dallas Animal Services takes in 30,000 animals a year. We have some of the largest municipal shelters in the country that are part of Tier 1. And we were all chosen because of the work that we've been doing for the last 8 years here, well, for us. Some of these shelters have been around a really long time. And some shelters will have an emphasis in other areas where we are going to be, really focused on like community services. Most of these already have foster programs, but they're going to be looking at big boosts and how they can be a more foster-centric organization. So, and we're all talking to each other pretty much every day. All the directors have a call once a week and really just sharing the work that we're all doing in our communities and setting up the groundwork for what this program is going to mean for all of us. And Tier 2 will begin in the later months, and they're going to do things that based on what we've learned in Tier 1. So I'm not going to read all these, but, and these are all on the Human Animal Support Services website, which we'll have that link at the end. But there are 12 elements currently of Haas that have been, we've looked at these a lot, and just even the language, and you'll see that some of it we're already doing. We are doing life-saving here in Kansas City. Animal protection and public safety, not as much here in Kansas City yet. So there are things that we'll be doing that we'll be focused on that we haven't done before. And so for each shelter, these are all going to be a little bit different. But we have volunteers, of course. Volunteers are engaged in every area of operations and are a key role in implementation of Haas programs. We're going to be adding a lot more volunteer roles in the upcoming months. Partnerships, we are already reaching out to not only animal welfare groups, but also community coalition partners of like human services as well. And that's going to be a really big thing for us. These are the Haas core values: community-centered, connection, cultural humility, really focused on the culture of every ethnic group in Kansas City and every area of town. That's going to be really big for us. Justice and equity. We're having a lot of conversations around this in Kansas City, and life-saving, relationships, and then support. My dogs are barking. So Haas is animal sheltering reimagined. In fact, that's our hashtag animal sheltering reimagined. We need to rethink the sheltering model that we've used for so many years. Think of the shelter as a hub, a spot for a pet before it goes to the next part of its journey. You know, we really want to rethink what it means to be an animal shelter. And rethink the way that we think of admissions. They're more like caseworkers. We're even, you know, calling them like pet resource specialists, and trying to create a different mindset for how we view that whole department in our organization. Breaking down barriers to adopt. We're re-examining any bias or preconceived judgment that we have for adopters. We are very open with our adoption policy at KC Pet Project, and we're very, very proud of that. But there's even little things that we're taking our adoption survey and we're looking at the questions and really diving in and looking at any barriers that we may have to help people and pets get together. Yeah, what is it? Lisa from the DC shelter calls it barrier busting. So we're going to be doing a lot of that. With an emphasis on keeping pets and people together. This also lowers space constraints at the shelter. Think of old school KC Pet Project. How often did we say we were full? Of course, we were in a much smaller shelter, but this, you know, will also help us just not have to deal with the stress of having every kennel full and what that means for staff, volunteers, the public, everybody. And most importantly, keeping pets and people together, it's what's best for the animal and for the family. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is really important to us in our organization. We realize that you know, we're doing a lot of self-examination and realizing that we have a lot of work to do in this area. We are going to be offering DEI workshops to our staff, board members, and we'll also be offering these to volunteers. Some of them are just going to be general DEI workshops. We're also exploring just animal care equity conversations as well, that's specific to our industry. We're going to be expanding our reach for career opportunities. We're actually already doing this a lot to hire more people of color as well as bilingual employees to reflect the community that we serve and be able to help everybody better when they come to the shelter for the people who are bilingual. Partnerships with human social service groups to combine resources and better understand our community and their needs. This will be a really, really big piece of what we're going to be doing, and Amanda's already started on this as well. And de-escalation training for our staff. People, when they come, you know, animals, we're very emotional about our pets. They're very emotional about their pets too, and oftentimes tempers can flare. Things can get very stressful very quickly. We want to be able to handle these situations better on our own and know how to work with the public in difficult situations that may arise. And fewer pets in the shelter means staff can focus on pet support, foster, stray reunification, emergencies, and other animal programs. If we're not consistently trying to keep kennels you know, empty and you know, figuring out where the next pet that comes in is going to go, we can focus more on these programs to support you know, our community and get more pets into their homes faster. This is just kind of a nice graph that you can see how Haas relates in a triangle with all of the different programs that we are talking about with Haas. So the shelter, you can see getting pets home, intake to placement, fostering, resources and resource center. We're going to be talking about this with Amanda. Community services, animal protection, public safety, okay, animal control, partnerships, case management. And volunteers will be incorporated into every area of the new model. We're going to figure out how to have volunteer roles in every aspect of Haas. And this is going to be very exciting. Amanda.
Thank you, Lori. Hi, everyone. Okay, so our newest program that we launched shortly after COVID-19 was our Keep Them Together, KC. And I've been here 4 weeks, so I'm still learning a lot of things. But KC Pet Project did this really amazing thing and really put it out into the community that they believe that no one should have to give up a pet that they love because of a financial stress. And I love the fact that we are talking about this as animal sheltering reimagined, because that is exactly what we're doing. And I'm so excited to be a part of it. Tori, we go to the next slide. Awesome, thank you. So I am the new director of community services here. So what we're looking at really is how can we, as an organization, do better in supporting our community. So we've had a ton of conversations in the short time that I've been here, and we're going to continue to have a lot more conversations really to see what this looks like so we can start building things out. So the first area that we're really focusing on is community veterinary services. There are a lot of amazing organizations in town that are doing a ton of great work. So we recently, as part of the Haas program, sent out a community ecosystem mapping survey. So what this was a survey that went out to some of the key stakeholders in the Kansas City community to figure out who's doing what service, what does that look like, and where are the gaps. So our hope is that with that data, we can really see where the gaps are and figure out how best to fill in with some additional services. So we're looking at, opening up our clinic to public spay-neuter. Also doing vaccinations and general pet wellness. There's definitely a big need, I think, not just in Kansas City, but probably nationwide, for affordable urgent care and pet emergency services, as well as dental care for pets, community cat services, and then community clinics. These community clinics, we have our first one tomorrow, our drive-through Get 'em Home clinic, which I'm super excited about. This will be the first of many, hopefully, so we can do everything we can to offer affordable services and kind of meet people where they are to make sure that they have everything they need to keep their pet in their home. The second model that we're looking at is community support services. So when KC Pet Project first launched the Keep Them Together KC, there was mention of a sponsorship type funds to deter relinquishment for things like, pet deposits and additional opportunities as well. Offering pet food and resource assistance. Sometimes it's just one small thing that someone's struggling with, and any assistance that we can offer can make a big difference and actually make or break the opportunity for that pet to stay in their home. The community clinics, of course, that we already talked about, and then grassroots community presence. So we're hoping to be more present within the community, but also be a more boots on the ground type of effort throughout Kansas City. And we're going to launch a community captain program. There are a lot of people in Kansas City who want to make a difference and want to help. And if we can help them do that from the comfort of their home and their neighborhood, that's exactly what we want to do and where we should start. We're also looking at a pet help hotline, which is going to be a big task, but an incredible opportunity for KC Pet Project to really, as an organization, be that trusted resource that the community needs. Not only, at the time of adoption, but post-adoption. If someone, is just struggling financially, or they've lost their job, they're having behavior issues, they're just not quite sure what to do, and they need some help to help, figure out how best to navigate those issues with their pet and to keep them successful in the home, that's what the Pet Help Hotline is going to do. And it really is going to be more of a case management model. So we're going to be doing a lot of follow-up. It's not going to be, oh, I've called, thank you for this information, I'll call you back later. If there's a concern, we want to make sure that we as an organization are going to reach back out to that pet owner to make sure that we answer any additional questions or to see if there's any other resources that we can give to them. We are looking at doing affordable dog training. Behavior and socialization are critical pieces in us making sure that pets are successful in their home, which also leads into pet ownership and animal welfare educational classes. I can say from experience that there were a lot of things when I got my first dog that I didn't know, and it wasn't really any fault of my own. It's just you don't know what you don't know. So if we can put, the knowledge out into the community, give them the tools that they need to be successful, we're going to make a huge difference. And then lastly, on the community support service piece, a resource assessment team. So as you all know, we are going to be including animal services in what we're doing. through animal control. So instead of us having to just dispatch animal control to every call, we really want to first assess the situation with their resource assessment team. Now, obviously, if there's an issue of, concern of cruelty or neglect, then absolutely animal control would be the first dispatch. But it could be, this pet doesn't have adequate shelter. Okay, well, instead of just going out with animal control and giving them a ticket, let's have our resource assessment team go out and see if we can just provide that doghouse, or get in touch with another organization that can provide that resource for them as well. So what does this look like for you, our volunteers? I hope to have more information on this, but with the Haas model, we really do want to include volunteers in every aspect of what we're doing. I will say this week, preparing for the community clinic, I feel incredibly blessed to have the support that I did this week with volunteers. I've only met a few of you, but you all are amazing, and I am so excited to meet every single one of you and get to work with you. So some of these opportunities that we're looking at currently are resource deliveries. So delivering food to other community organizations, dog houses to pet owners, kennels, things like that. We are working on a community impact committee. We want the community, including our volunteers, to really help us build this program out based on the needs of the community, not what we think the needs are. That's going to help us make the biggest impact. The community captain team that we talked about, the pet helpline support. We'll definitely need more hands on deck in that area. Pet resource referrals, community street team, which is going to be our grassroots boots on the ground effort, the community clinics, hopefully having monthly resource drives. We'll also be doing mass community cat spay neuter clinics. There also has been talk about doing, mass spay neuter specialty clinics as well. And the more customer service opportunities, the more public facing programs we have out in the community. Then let's go to the next slide. So Tori touched on some of this earlier. This model, there's going to be a lot of changes just within the shelter as well. So admissions is going to become pet resources, because that's really what it is. The focus of admissions is to help provide everything we possibly can to the pet owner to help them keep their pet at home. Admission counselors are now pet resource specialists. We'll be adding that call and dispatch center, which is incredibly needed and a huge opportunity for us again. Really integrating case management into everything that we're doing. And I'm sure we'll have plenty of training opportunities on some of these things, because it is a big transition. And then right now we're looking at assessment of processes and protocols so we can better support the Haas values and Haas model and everything that we're doing. All right, I think Alex, you're up.
Is she here?
Do we have Alex?
Alex, I think you're muted. Not yet.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about our new Lost and Found program and some things that we have changed since COVID. So right now we're working on keeping healthy found animals out of the shelter by providing support to finders. We ran numbers for May and found that from the animals that were reclaimed for the month of May, they lived 1.09 miles on average from where they were picked up. We found that most of those animals were found less than 0.1 miles from their home. So what this is telling us is that we need to encourage these animals to, and the finders, to canvass neighborhoods and put in some work to find owners before bringing them all the way to the shelter. So some ways that we're doing this, we're having finders who are willing to hang on to healthy found animals fill out a found report on our website with a photo. When they do this, our Lost and Found coordinator is able to visually identify the found animals and hopefully find matches to the owners who have also filled out a lost pet report searching for that animal. We are encouraging the finders to publish on social media platforms like Nextdoor, Craigslist, Finding Rover, and Facebook. and we're also providing them, sorry about my guinea pigs in the background, the the best verbiage possible and the best ways to disclose information about the animals that they have found. And then good old-fashioned flyers. So we're still encouraging members of the public who find animals to post flyers in the neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods where that animal is found. We actually have some templates on our website to help make the flyer creation process as easy as possible for finders. That way they're not having to start from scratch on everything. And then we're also encouraging finders to canvass the area with the animal. Like I said earlier, a lot of these animals are less than 0.1 miles from their home. So just walking around the neighborhood for as long as a finder possibly can tremendously help get an animal home without having to impound it and confuse owners on where to look for the animal. With microchip scanning, we're trying to increase the ability for our community to do that. So we want to focus on providing scanners to police departments, fire departments, but also just volunteers in our community in general, to have scanners in various neighborhoods throughout the city just to make it a little bit easier for people who have found animals to help get those animals home. And then to talk a little bit about our Get 'em Home team, we have recently created this team. Basically, for those of you who know Laura Kramer, she's our Lost and Found coordinator. She is one amazing person working to get several of these found animals home and trying to find the owners, and she is just one person. So what we're wanting to do is engage our volunteers by giving them opportunities to help her out and assist in the reunion process. So the first opportunity that we are offering currently is to have volunteers sign up for the team, and you can do that via my email below. And basically what we'll have you do is fill out a survey. On that survey, you're going to provide your address, which is kept entirely confidential just to myself and Laura are the only ones who would be able to reach that. And basically what we're going to do is pin onto a Google map each volunteer's address. That way we can view which neighborhoods we need more volunteers in, and then also have an idea of where our volunteers currently are located. So what would happen is each night we will look at all of the animals impounded that day, and we're able to use an alternate color on that same map to pin animals based on their intake address. So any animals that are close to a volunteer pin, we will reach out to that volunteer. We'll give them photos of the animal as well as a little script that they can post onto social media, just to try and target neighborhoods versus social media in general. Because of that, the site that we're trying to target right now with volunteers is Nextdoor. That way we can get right into that animal's neighborhood and reach out to as many people as possible to let them know that an animal was found. So we are having our volunteers either already have the account or we're helping them sign up. That way we can get as many Nextdoor accounts as possible throughout the city. And then other opportunities in the future, we're going to work on neighborhood canvassing where we can have volunteers go out into the neighborhoods of found animals and work to try and find the owner. We'll have other opportunities to be able to post flyers, a bunch of great stuff. And then we'll also have undiscovered opportunities. You know, we have a lot of abilities with our Lost and Found team, and that's forever going to grow. So as we get new ideas, we'll have new opportunities available for that. So again, if you guys are interested, you can reach me via email on the slide shown. For those of you that have me on Facebook, you can reach out that way as well, and we can get you started. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Alex put together the map that you see there, and you know, you can definitely see where a lot of the animals come from in our community, and those are really a lot of areas that we're going to be targeting for resources, and especially to help lost pets get back home. That's a really big emphasis. You'll also notice that there's some dots outside of Kansas City, so we are looking into that and how all that happened as well. So it's a surprise to get that. So additional program notes with the things that we've learned during COVID-19. We are going to be doing appointment-based services, which we are still doing. We are opening up dog day out appointments, trying to make those a lot more accessible. We will be moving to 7 days a week for dog day outs eventually, which is really great. We are still doing foster appointments and virtual adoptions. So we're looking at how we can virtualize all of our services. We have been doing virtual foster medical appointments during the pandemic, which has been fantastic to be able to offer that to our foster families. And looking at behavior, you know, how can we do everything and be able to assist the people who are helping us with our animals. Further expansion of our foster program. We've always had a tremendously successful foster program. We're looking at how we can move even more animals out into foster homes. We have added staff to the foster program, especially during this, even to help with emails during the pandemic to make sure that everybody's getting the best customer service that we can. We are still trying to figure out some pieces of technology that we can get answers to people even faster, and we're working with other shelters and figuring out how we can do all of that. We have we've done a few finder to foster programs as well as stray to foster program opportunities. We are still exploring that and figuring out how we can expand those two programs. Additional resources to owners to list their own pets for adoption. We currently use Rehome, which is through adoptapet.com, where people can list their own pet that they're hoping to rehome. On adoptapet.com, I mentioned that their traffic is through the roof. So this has been really successful, and the donations that are, or the adoption fees that are paid for by the new owners can actually be allocated as, they are actually allocated as adoption donations for the shelter that the owner chooses. So we do get donation checks from adoptapet.com when people list their own pet on Rehome. So if anybody ever asks about like what are some resources, that is a great resource, and it's on our website under the owner surrender tab. And we are looking at additional programs so that way we can have even more places for people to list their own pets instead of bringing them to the shelter. We are going to be launching a community cat program, incredibly exciting. And we have amazing team members on our staff who have done this at other cities very, very successfully. So we're really excited to be able to offer that program soon. Increased community partnerships, human social services, we've talked about that a lot tonight. And of course, animal services, which will be coming in the fall, hopefully. So we are been actively working on that. Teresa, do you want to mention anything on that in particular?
No, just that we're really excited. I think when you were talking earlier about the elements of the Haas model, and we said some of those things we do really well, and then some are rather new to us. This is going to be one of those newer elements, because in so many of those other shelters, tier 1 shelters that are doing this program, they already have animal control or animal services as a part of their organization already. And we do not. So this is going to be new for us. And in fact, we're going to see a lot of efficiencies and a lot of benefits by having the animal services division incorporated into our programs. And so, like Amanda talked about earlier, we'll be able to triage what the call is about. We'll be able to send out maybe a resource team ahead of time to see what is needed at a particular for a particular case at a particular location. So having animal services with that sheltering services as well, I think is going to be a real benefit to the community.
So, and we feel every ounce of our effort should be to keep pets in their homes. Of course, there are still going to be the needs for pets to come to the shelter. That is never going to end. You know, we saw during COVID when we asked people if we could prioritize the animals that truly needed to be there, the community responded and our intake went down, and we were seeing emergency cases, true strays that needed to help to get rehomed or get back to their home. You know, neonatal kittens, everything that truly needed to be at the shelter, and that still kept us very, very busy during all of this. And so we are seeing way too many animals come into our shelter every year for our size town. And so we want to figure out how we can keep more pets with their family members. And a lot of that will incorporate into a lot of human services as well. You know, things we talked about, housing. That is the #1 reason, other than found, you know, cannot keep, that people have to surrender their pet is because of they're moving or housing issues, and then behavior issues as well. So we want to be able to provide resources and work with our community to identify what those resources are and prioritize those. So here's the website for humananimalsupportservices.org. You can go on. We are actively working on this, building it up. So there's a lot more information to come on there. But it's just kind of the basics. There's also a really good FAQ section. So if you have any questions about it and want to know more, there's a really good section on there. But of course, we are here to answer any questions as well. I'm going to type in the chat the website. And if you have a question, you'll have to unmute yourself probably. All right.
So what do you guys think? Initial reactions, thoughts? Does it seem different? Does it seem the same?
Hi, I think this sounds different and I'm really excited. I love the emphasis on helping people as well as helping the animals, and the emphasis on diversity. I think that'll really make a big difference in the community.
I think so too. And I don't know how many of you all know how often people have pets and something happens, and you know, so many people are just one incident away from not being able to pay for veterinary care for their pet. So many people wind up having something happen, like unfortunately, you know, their dog gets hit by a car. It runs outside and accidentally runs into the street and gets hit by a car. Or their puppy, despite their best efforts, gets parvo. Those are things that right now, if someone called us and said, what could I do? How can I help my pet? We would say, well, you have to sign it over to the shelter. That's the only way we can help your pet. And they have to give up their pet that they loved just to get it treatment. These are the things that we want to address and try to find solutions for, so that people don't have to give up a pet they love simply because something bad happens. And we know there are so many people that have income instability, they have housing instability, but just because you have some tough times doesn't mean that you can't love your pet as much as we all do. And we want to try to do what we can to help those people that love their pets and want to keep their pets.
I love it. Not just for the people, but for the animals too.
Yes. And I'm really excited about like our street team and all the Get 'em Home program. How many times have we seen animals come in with sweaters and painted toenails, and they're well fed and they're well cared for and they have a brand new collar on, and you know that they have a family, that, and frankly, that they probably were not very far from their home anyway, but we had no way to have someone canvass the neighborhood or just knock on a few doors. to figure out who this dog belongs to. And so these are things that as we pull our community together, we pull the volunteers together, and we figure out, rather than just, you know, the old model is just call animal control or just bring them all to the shelter. Well, let's try to figure out how many don't need to come to the shelter, because we can find them their home before they ever have to come to the shelter.
I got asked yesterday on the news. They were like, so this model is basically something that's going to try to put you out of business. And I was like, no, it's not putting us out of business.
No,
It's reprioritizing what it is that that our services. It's prioritizing reprioritizing our programs, looking at things differently. You know, we talk a lot about how animal shelters started was to basically just round up dogs that were like rabies threats in the community, and, you know, put them in a place out of sight, out of mind sort of thing. And we've never really gotten away from that. I mean, we've done the no kill. You know, most shelters now are, you know, life-saving shelters. It's hard to find one that's, you know, euthanizing healthy treatable pets anymore, because we have transports, and we're also talking about that as well. Transports, how rescue groups fit into all of this, how spay neuter clinics fit into all of this. And that's why Amanda's really focused on collaboration and partnerships, outreach groups. We don't want to step over, you know, what other organizations are doing. We want to work together and figure out how we can be more effective as a coalition here in Kansas City. And we're doing this in all of the tier 1 cities right now. And a lot of them are well ahead of us, and they have great coalitions. And, you know, some are just getting started, and some are in such small towns that they may just be by themselves. So we have a lovely little shelter in Cabot, Arkansas that's participating, and they're fantastic and doing a great job. So, and then there's LA, that's really big. So. I'm also going to share in the chat. Marie, you talked about the diversity and equity and everything. There is a great organization that's kind of really come to light in this whole model. It's called CARE, and they are really focused on diversity and equity in animal welfare in particular. We notice that, you know, animal welfare is we're not very diverse. We're not in a general, you know, overall sense. So we're working very closely with their organization and then others to incorporate DEI into every element of Haas, and really setting a baseline of standards for how we're going to implement all of these programs and then be inclusive in every single aspect of it. So we mentioned that we're going to be doing a lot more hiring and career opportunities. So we're already working with the Full Employment Council here in Kansas City to advertise our jobs. We are, once safe to do so, going to have hiring fairs in different community centers around town. That also applies to volunteer fairs and foster opportunities. We want everybody to feel included, to come and help our organization in any way that they can. So that's going to be something that we're really focused on, and just getting the word out. We've really just depended on our website and Facebook to post jobs, and so trying to be more creative and out of the box on how we advertise, how people can get involved in every aspect of our organization.
Tori, I'd like to add on to that too. You know, one of the things that we're hoping to do in general is get more Spanish information out into the community as well. There is a huge disconnect with people's ability to communicate effectively with us, and, you know, I'm sure everyone can remember at least one time or two where a family's son or young daughter have come in and have to translate for the parents, because there's such a big language barrier. You know, in the DEI stuff that we're doing, it is super important that we are able to put, you know, information out that is Spanish facing. That's also, you know, going to better support the Spanish speaking pet owners in our community as well.
I have a question. Has there been any talk about retaining fosters? There's so many historically that all of a sudden one day I, you know, see something about a dog or a memory, and I think, I've not seen that person on the foster page in 2 years. What happened to them? Or, you know, we got so many new fosters through the pandemic, and you either lost a whole large amount of them because they kept the dog and now they're not going to continue fostering, or they decided, you know, they couldn't foster because they went back to work or whatever. I'm just wondering if there's been any talk about that retention.
There has been. We did that survey and we had several responses back, and a lot of, we asked everybody who fostered and filled out the emergency foster application. Honestly, a lot of people that wanted to foster, I mean, we had 900 people sign up, so there was a lot of people that didn't get a pet. But we had a lot of people that were still sharing animals and things like that, trying to get more people involved. When we asked everybody who fostered if they would foster again, all but 2 people said that they wouldn't. One was because they felt like they couldn't, and the other was moving. Everybody else said it was the best process ever. It was so much easier than I thought it was going to be. I felt supported in every way possible. Something that we recognize is that not everybody's on Facebook. Not everybody wants to be on Facebook or in the Facebook group. So we are trying to explore new technology that we can kind of create sort of like a database just for fosters to be able to like see everything, see all the needs, see who has who, you know, like we really want to be able to create this new technology piece because every shelter is struggling. We put animals available for adoption and we get 50 requests on that animal in like 2 hours. You know, everybody's looking to adopt. So trying to figure out, okay, how do we prioritize all of those coming in without overwhelming the fosters? So those are all things that we're definitely looking at. How can we do better? There is a foster working group for Haas, and we're going to be actively talking about all of that as well.
Yeah, and certainly that's why we have put more resources into the foster program. And so, you know, many of you know that Carter is assisting Sarah for the canine foster program now. And so it's really important that we turn more toward finding more resources for the foster programs, both canine and feline, and be able to match fosters quicker with potential adopters, and also be able to reach out to a larger number of people, and reaching out to the community and finding more people. Like Tori said, we had 900 people signed up immediately to want to be a foster. Those same people are all still out there. I mean, this is a city in Kansas City alone, it's 500,000 people. So there's a lot of people out there that would be willing to foster. They just, don't know what they don't know. And so we need to reach out, have some great programs to bring people in, and then be able to try to match them up with a pet as soon as we can.
Okay. Thanks.
In terms of community support, we did launch our Keep Them Together KC program. We launched our, we had our COVID response matching gift fund that was for community support. So I know Marie's on here, but from a donor perspective, we've had tremendous success with these initiatives. So the community is really wanting to support this cause. And this is, we keep saying this is the next phase. Like, this is our next phase as an organization. So going out in the community, it's just something that's desperately needed. If we continue to go down the old model, the old path, we'll just be back where we were in the old building, just with a nice shiny new building. So this is our next phase. And I think the community is going to come along with us, and we'll be telling stories of how we're helping the community the whole time. And collecting lots of data. We're really interested in data on this. And so trying to set the baseline of how we're going to measure the success of all of these programs and be able to show that to you and to everybody. Any other questions tonight? Well, thank you guys. Alicia, do you have anything to add? I know you're driving. She may not be on. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for, oh, you're unmuted. Nope, she's still muted. Sorry. Thank you guys so much for attending tonight. And, oh, yeah.
I had a question.
Yeah. Hi, Nancy.
Hi. What are we doing to get kids involved? I mean, it's something as simple as having kid-sized T-shirts, but to help teach children how to take care of their new dog or cat and things like that, so that they can help the rest of their family take care of the animal and grow up to be a better animal parent.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tori, do you want to talk about what Alex does?
Yeah. So for those that don't know Alex Ayala, she is our education coordinator. She also handles all of the events at the campus, which of course we have 0 right now events, and unfortunately had to cancel all of those. But she has built, there's a new page under the programs tab on our website, Youth Education and Enrichment. And there's a lot of really great videos that she's done that kids can do things at home to help our pets. We're going to be adding a lot more information to that, inviting a lot of children to come see the campus. She has been doing Zoom virtual tours with kids groups throughout this whole thing, Zoom birthday parties, and just showing kids around the campus and talking, like showing them animals and then talking about how they can get involved. And then she's going to be going out into the community, and really, we want to get really involved with, especially kids groups in the urban core, and the schools, the after-school programs, the nonprofits, and going and speaking with children about what it's like to care for pets, and how they can get involved with animals. We find that when we go to a lot of these, most kids are scared of animals. That we see a lot of the times. And so just talking about basic things like, don't pull their ear and don't tug on their tail, just little things like that. And finding that when we start at a young age, that there's appreciation for animals that can grow just by small encounters like that.
Well, I was thinking like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts have various kinds of badges. Mm-hmm. We could be teachers, resource people for the badge instruction and make it worthwhile. I can remember some badges that I got were pretty dumb. Well, I mean, I knew more than the scout leader who was trying to teach us. And so, we could make it really worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we started to have quite a few Girl Scout and Boy Scout groups coming out and doing some badge things. And then, of course, COVID came along and all of that had to go away, but hopefully we'll be able to do more of that in the future to help those kinds of groups come out and do some things that are animal related.
Yeah, and our Friends of KC group has been very involved with the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts as well. They have a whole team of people that come out and help, put enrichment things together and put, things, do like projects and service projects for animals there. And we've looked into the badges. We've seen several shelters that do that as well for volunteers. So yeah, all good things that we'll look into.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone. So happy to see all of you and hope to see you around the campus soon. We will be publishing this on our volunteer pages for those who missed it, and want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. So if you have any follow-up questions, please let us know, and we're excited for the future and what all it holds for all of us. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you. Stay safe.
You
as well.